What is going on, guys? Kenny here from 619 Guitars and Gear, and welcome back to part 2 of the Eart GW2 Pro project. In the last episode, we got the white on. We etched out the grain, well, reverse order, but we got it all ready to get the grain filled in. I had to sit down and decide what colors I wanted to use, and that took a lot of thinking because I just could not really figure out what I wanted to do. But pretty much made up my mind of what I wanted to do, and we kind of had to go with a different method than I normally do when it comes to filling the grain. Normally, I will just wipe on whatever color I want to fill the grain with, and then wipe it off. It will stay in the grain, but come off everywhere else. And with the grain being so coarse and deep and a little bit, bigger, if we use that method, it would just wipe it right out of the grain. So I had to come up with a different idea. So I put a bunch of coats of poly on the white so it didn't sand off, and decided to just paint the whole face of the body black. You're probably wondering why I'm using a brush-on paint. Where I live this time of year, it gets pretty cold, so my shop is pretty cold, and instead of having to worry about getting the propane heater out and heating it up, I just decided to do it here in the studio. So I used just a brush-on acrylic paint, and you know me, I like to use stuff that is accessible to everyone. You can get it at Home Depot, craft stores. You can still make a guitar look really good. You don't have to use professional grade stuff, and it turned out really, really good. So we got the black brushed on. And then what I ended up doing was sanding it back. And something really cool happened, and I didn't really expect. Instead of it just staying in the grain, it kind of filled in every low spot. So it kind of had like an aged, rustic, like worn out look to it, which I thought was pretty cool. I decided to keep it that way. It did take a lot of sanding, and I had to be really careful because I just, even though we put the poly on there, I did not want to sand through the white. But we got there eventually. Like I said, it was a little tedious, but I'm pretty happy with the result and how it came out. I think here I'm using one of those pieces of the mesh sandpaper. It's a little more coarse, so it took it off a little bit easier, but again, having to be really, really careful. And I was kind of going back and forth between that and one of the sanding sponges. But as you can see, it looks pretty cool. Like, definitely has that, aged look to it, because the black is pretty much just hanging out in every low spot. And the final result, I think, is really cool. But what I wanted to do is not just keep the black in there. I wanted to kind of put a highlight color over top of the black. But I didn't want to, paint the whole face again and then sand it back. You can see here, once we got it wiped down with some rubbing alcohol, it kind of really cleaned it up and looked really, really cool. Could not decide what highlight color I wanted to use. I was kind of going back and forth with teal or something else. And I did decide on some neon green. I don't really have anything that's neon green, so I figured it would be a cool color. And I had to do a couple different tests to see how we're going to get the neon green to only go in the grain, nowhere else. And I tried it, with wiping it on and carefully trying to wipe it off, and it would just wipe it right out of the grain. It's just too, coarse, and whatever you use to wipe it with would just, kind of go right into little wood grain crevices and end up taking the color right out. So I ended up taping off the sides and broke out the airbrush, which you'll see here in a little while. And man, it was pretty painstaking. I'm not gonna lie. It took a lot of patience, and it was really tedious. And I ended up putting a couple more coats of poly over the black and white together, just so when I'm using the alcohol to kind of clean everything up, it doesn't take any of the other colors off. because I am using just a regular acrylic paint, nothing too fancy. You can get it at Michael's or any kind of craft store that sells it. But I stuck it in the airbrush and just painted each grain. It took a long time. And then, using Q-tips and little pieces of paper towel, I had to let it dry a little bit. I think that was the key, is letting it dry enough to where it will still wipe off, but it won't wipe out of the grain. But I kind of wanted it to like wipe out of the grain a little bit, so it's kind of broken up looking and not like perfectly uniform, because I wanted you to be able to see a little bit of black behind it. And I think it came out really, really good, but it took a long time. And I was probably out in the shop for, 2-3 hours doing this part of the project. As you can see, using paper towels and, having to throw it away and get a new piece so it just didn't, rub a bunch of green everywhere. And then I had to go back and touch up some spots with the airbrush. It was pretty painstaking. I knew it would be worth it in the end, but it's not normally how I do it. So it was all about coming up with a method that would look right in the end, but would work overall. But you can see once I clean it up with some alcohol, it ends up looking really, really good. But I believe this was probably the best way to do it. You probably could use a brush, a little tiny fine point brush, and paint each grain and then kind of wipe it away to break up the green a little bit so you can see the black behind it. But overall, the airbrush was probably the best result. And you'll see here, using a Q-tip, just some of those wood grains, there wasn't much space in between, so the Q-tip came in handy, really cleaning some of the green off. And like I said, I was out there a pretty long time. Patience were running thin, but we got it done, and I was really, really happy with the final result. But if I had to do it again, I'm not sure if I would do it this way. I might try. I probably would try using a paintbrush and just painting each, line of wood grain or whatever that we etched out. It'd probably be a little bit faster. But whatever, it worked in the end, and I'm not going to complain about it too much, honestly. And you'll see there, wiping it out kind of took a little bit of the green off. I had to go back and touch that up, but it was no problem at all in the end. And once we got it all wiped off completely, this is the final result. I think it looks really cool. Definitely a little bit different. It might be an acquired taste for sure, but I think it came out really, really good. So next step was to get a dusting coat of clear on it just to kind of protect it while we are handling it and everything. So I just used a water-based satin poly and did a light dusting coat of clear over top of just the front for now. Then I masked off the front, and I wanted to do the sides and the back black. I used just some acrylic paint mixed with a little bit of alcohol to, water it down a little bit, and threw it in the Harbor Freight spray gun, and it worked really, really good. I was totally blown away on how well it sprayed and how well it covered. I was pretty blown away, to be honest. But you'll see there's that pink template. That's actually from when we put the veneer on the other Eart headless I have. But it came out really good. We got the sides and the back cleared again with satin poly. It's a water-based poly that you get from Home Depot. But I put a couple coats of clear, and that's pretty much where we stand. So in the next episode, we will get one final coat of clear on it. I might do something with the back. I have to decide. but we'll get some final clear on it and get it assembled and play this bad boy. So till then, stay safe, be a good person, and we will see you in the last and final episode.